ताजदारे खत्म नबूवत जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद ताजदारे खत्म नबूवत जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद लब्बैक लब्बैक या रसूल अल्लाह
آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد كلما ذكرك الذاكرين وغفل عن ذكرك الغافلون. Firstly, with regard to today's subject, the anniversary of the passing away of Al-Allama Khadim Hussein Rizvi rahimahullah ta'ala. Remember, the title Al-Allama, even though it's commonly utilized by people, it's a noun of exaggeration which entails vastly learning. So when you describe someone as Al-Allama, it's a sufficient title. When you say Al-Allama, it means very learned. Many of you would be unaware that I actually met Al-Allama Khadim Hussein Rizvi rahimahullah ta'ala in 2005. Where did we meet? We met in Damascus, Dimashq. Harafa Allah, Allah protect Damascus. We met on the side of Al-Jami' Abi Noor, the University Masjid of Sheikh Ahmed Guftar rahimahullah ta'ala, which is known as Al-Jami' Abi Noor. Al-Allama rahimahullah, I think the title Al-Allama should be specific. Like we said, Al-Allama Iqbal, Al-Allama, I use this title specifically for our rashid who has passed away, rahimahullah. He was on a tour of Bilad al-Sham and he met me near the stairs. I was introduced to him and I inquired also, who is this visiting alim? They said he's a mudarris who teaches in Al-Jami'ah Al-Nizamiyah in Lahore, which is the university of whom? Of Al-Allama Al-Mufti Abdul Qayyum Al-Hazabi rahimahullah ta'ala, who is our grand teacher. And also he is the one who brought out the work Al-Ataya Al-Nabawiyah Fil Fatawa Al-Ridawiyah in the 30-volume edition, the Lahore edition. So they said he teaches in Al-Jami' Al-Nizamiyah, and he teaches the Sunan of Al-Imam Abu Dawood. Who is Al-Imam Abu Dawood? Sulaiman ibn Ash'ath al-Sijistani rahimahullah ta'ala, the author of the Sunan, the compiler of the Sunan, one of the famous books of Al-Kutub al-Sitta, the 6 books of Hadith. So he said to me at that time, tell me where will I be able to purchase commentaries on the Sunan of Imam Abu Dawood. So I gave him the directions to the bookshops and we conversed for a small amount of time and he left. And at that time he was not ma'adhur. He had not suffered an accident, so he was able to walk, rahimahullah. But he left an impression on my mind at the time. Later on, a second incident, which many of you will not be aware of also, is that in 2020, 2 years ago, April 2020, I looked at my phone and there was missed calls from Pakistan. And I really received missed calls from Pakistan. Then some brothers from England contacted me and said, Al-Allama has been attempting to contact you. So then I waited and contact was made and we conversed for a long time on the phone. And that is what I want to divulge to you today. What did we converse about? Of course, it's haram to record someone's conversation without their permission, so I didn't record the conversation. But there were witnesses on the side of Al-Alama, people who were listening. What we discussed, before I go into that, I want to discuss two aspects of the personality. One is, as I said, he was an alim. But what is an alim? Of course, he memorized the Quran al-Kareem and he gave tafsir al-Quran from memory, from his heart. And then, of course, we know he memorized, as far as I know, the Sahih of Imam Muhammad bin Ismail al-Bukhari, rahimahullah. This was what I was informed of, which is not surprising to someone who was able to read the Asanid and the Rijal, the names of the men of the Asanid from his memory. And he was able to give commentary to this, as is witnessed by people who listen to his speeches. But of course, those who were his students would have witnessed that firsthand. But what made him an alim? An alim is someone who acts upon the ilm. Does amal on what he knows. Otherwise, if you do not do amal on what you know, then we know three people the hellfire will be fueled with first. In the Sahih of Imam Bukhari, famous hadith, that three people will come on the day of judgment. A person who spent money in the way of Allah ostensibly. A person who taught Al-Quran al-Kareem. And a person who fought in the way of Allah and ostensibly was killed in the way of Allah. But then on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose them because their intentions were false. Their intentions were false, that they gave money in the way of Allah. So people say that he is a generous person. They taught knowledge, so people can say they were an alim. And they fought in the way of Allah, so people can say they are al-ghazi or al-mujahid in the way of Allah. Hellfire will be fueled with them first. And then the hadith states, إن أحدكم لا يعمل بعمل أهل الجنة حتى لا يكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراع ثم يسبق عليه الكتاب فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل النار. That a person does the actions of the people of paradise until there is not between him and paradise except an arm's length. And then the divine judgment overwhelms him and he does the actions of the people of hellfire. فَيَدْخُلُ فِيهَا, and he enters hellfire. In one version of the hadith narrated by Imam Muslim bin al-Hajjaj rahimahullah, al-Qushayri bin Imam Muslim, it says, فِيمَا يَبْدُ, outwardly he does the actions of people of paradise. This is telling us al-riya, which is ostentation, is kabira min al-kaba'ir. Meaning when you do an action, if it's not for the sake of Allah, then toward the end or in your lifetime, you will end up exposing yourself as being false. This is something we witness from time to time. Even when the rallies were held initially, there were certain individuals involved, and people came up to me and mentioned their names. And I said to people in TLP, because I'm not a member of any political party, I said there are certain people in your group that are misleading. And they were exposed. Later they were exposed. Similarly, al-a'malu bil-khawatim, the actions are by the end. The al-a'malu bil-khawatim, you can do all the fanfare, the showing off, everything. But at the end, when you are on your deathbed, it is between you and the angel of death. When the maut comes to the throat and the gargling sound comes, it is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if al-ikhlas or sidq is not there, then you will do something toward the end which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose you. Na'udhu billah min dhalik. And this is something we witness throughout his life. Al-Imam al-Shaheed, Shaheed al-Mihrab, Al-Imam Muhammad Sa'id, Ramadan, Al-Bulti, rahimahullah, people slandered him. And at the end, he was teaching Al-Quran al-Kareem. And he passes away Shaheed. And this is why they say Shaheed al-Mihrab. But his actions, al-a'malu bil-khawatim. And this is a warning for all the ulama that they should have al-ikhlas lillah, as-sidq lillah, in all action. So people said regarding al-allama, they said to me at the time, he swears in his speeches. He swore at the abductor, an individual. I said, he's not ma'soom. We do not believe he's a Nabi. Na'udhu billah, if we believe that, it's kufr. He's not ma'soom. But when they attempted to find faults, they never mentioned mahasin, the good qualities. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought out those mahasin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought out those mahasin, which the world is a witness to. And that is a lesson for every alim of the deen and every individual, whether he's a part of TLP, whichever group, as if he is a Muslim and he professes La ilaha illallah, Sayyiduna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, al-khitab is to all of them, that your actions are done for the sake of Allah, solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So an alim is someone who does amal on his knowledge, and an alim is someone who has a sidq wal ikhlas lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in that conversation, I will miss out many things. There were many personal things said between us, but what concerns everyone else? He said to me, when you come to Pakistan, you can say these things there. It was not written. It was not written, meaning I intended to go, but it was not written for me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has it al-qada al-qadar. And he passed away in November in the same year. But what was discussed was the following. Words to the effect that al-aqifiyya dun al-takhtit, or al-takhtit dun al-aqifiyya. What is that? Emotions without planning. Emotions without planning. And planning without emotions. You need both. Al-aqifiyya is what? Hubbullah wa hubbu Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But what is takhtit? Planning. So in Badr, 313 Sahaba all had Hubbullah wa hubbu Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But they also had takhtit. When they said, we will make encampment on the highest slope. So when the rain fell on the mushrikeen, it fell on the bottom and they became flooded. They made encampment at the top and they had water from which they drank. While the mushrikeen, the water became a curse for them. In battle of the trench, Al-Khandaq, Sayyiduna Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu gave them mashwaratul ra'i, that they should dig a trench, and Jabdul Ayr and Jabdul Uhud and Al-Harratul Sharqiyya and Al-Harratul Gharbiyya, this will be a natural defense of Al-Madinah al-Munawwarah, planning. When Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anhu said, when I send out armies, I plan sometimes even in my salah. That takhtit, planning is something essential. So he said to me, what is your view? in which direction should we go? And this is something for the members of TLP, but all Muslims in general. I said we need to show the Muslim world the benefits of Islam in terms of its economy and iqtisad. Because today Muslims suffer from poverty and a division between the rich and the poor. And what Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh demonstrated in Al-Khilafah was that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh said that even if a goat dies on the banks of the rivers of the Euphrates, Umar is responsible. Today, we see the division of the elite classes in Pakistan and the poor. And Islam is the solution for them. This needs to be demonstrated. But the second aspect that was discussed was that Pakistan being a divided society, but not only Pakistan, this is found in Turkey, Egypt, various countries. If you know of those societies, you will know that there is a division now between secular-minded Muslims and Muslims who want al-Khilafah, what we refer to as Nizam Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is not secular democracy in Pakistan, because the very name of Islamic Republic of Pakistan is a contradiction. You cannot have a republic. Go and check the very meaning of republic and Islamic at the same time. It's a contradiction. Secular democracy, a two-party system with a parliament, which they claim is Majlis Shura. It cannot be Majlis Shura. Why? Majlis Shura can never veto Ahkam al-Quran. If you check Ahkam al-Imamah, what are Ahkam al-Imamah? Because the speaker prior to me, he was mentioning the role of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had the role of al-Imamatul Kubra, which is what? The major leadership, which later became al-Khilafah. This entails the Khalifa, not the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Khalifa can never veto Ahkamul Quran, can never veto Ahkamul Quran. But the parliament, today the parliamentary system that we have, it vetoes Ahkamul Quran. So there is no compatibility between secular democracy and re-establishing al-Khilafatul Islamiyah. But for the secularists, people who are secular-minded, in Pakistan and other places, there is a division now between them and those who have what we say religious mindset or an Islamic mindset. This gap needs to be drawn. Meaning, those who are secular-minded, they need to be drawn towards Islam. How? By seeing the benefits of Islam. Islam has its economic benefits, as I mentioned, like the distribution of wealth. If we just discussed the Islamic benefits of the Islamic economic system alone, it's an entire subject. Just that alone is sufficient, but it also has its social benefits. Like what? The many rape cases we see in Pakistan today, disgraceful cases. If instead of applying secular law, they applied Sharia law as it should be applied, you would see safety for women in Pakistan. There would be safety for womankind. Women would be able to walk freely. They say regarding the Khilafah of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, an old woman was able to walk the long road from Sana'a in Yemen all the way to where Makkah al-Mukarramah with safety. An old woman, no one would touch her. Why? Because of the safety of the nizam, of what? Of a Sharia Islamiyah. But the secular elite, they want people to adopt a secular mindset, a law that changes every few years through trial and error. Secular law is trial and error. And these are some of the points that I mentioned to Al-Allama Khadim Hussain rahimahullah on the phone. And he said to me, when you come to Pakistan, you can discuss this. You can mention these things. Of course, in the English language. That those people that you want to address, we will facilitate for you to address. And then he passed away, rahimahullah ta'ala, in November. That is my message for today, that we, aside from al-Atifiyah, if we want to really follow the manhaj of the ulama of Islam, then we need to adopt three things which are absolutely essential. One is talabul ilm. You can never give guidance if you are a jahil yourself. What is talabul ilm? Talabul ilm is learning al-Quran al-Kareem, the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and al-fiqh. Al-fiqh, according to one of the four madhahib, we are Hanafi, so you learn the Hanafi fiqh. You adopt one of the four madhabs and you learn the fiqh of that madhab, but you learn ahkam al-Quran wa sunnah. This is the first thing, talab al-ilm, essential. Why is Arabic language so essential? People think that if you speak proper Arabic, sometimes they think you are being ostentatious. You are showing off. Arabic is the language of Al-Quran Al-Kareem and the language of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but it is also the language for any political group. Why? When the foundations of Pakistan were laid, they had an option of three languages. They had the option of Farsi. That would have united them with Iran and Afghanistan. They had the option of Urdu, which unites them with Hind, the entire Hind. But they had a third option, which was Arabic. They did not adopt the Arabic language. What corruption did that lead to? In 1971, when the Bangladeshi Muslims separated from the Pakistan, Western Pakistan and East Pakistan separated. Over what? Language. But if they had Islam in front of them, they would have said, we will unite on the language of Islam, which is Arabic language. That the institutional language will be Arabic. So there is no qawmiyah, there is no asabiyah, tribalism, racism. That what will unite the parliament is Arabic. Those who do not know Arabic, in 10 years, an entire nation can learn a language. In 10 years. Because in 10 years, every 10 years, a new generation grows up. You teach that language for 10 years, an entire generation will grow up. But additionally, you would have Rabb, connection with all al-alam al-Islam in the entire Muslim world. The entire Muslim world. So, learning Arabic is absolutely essential for every Muslim. But this is a part of talab al-ilm. That today, when Taliban, when they contact people from other governments, they have spokesmen and people who speak that language. They speak Arabic. The Taliban, they speak Al-Fusha. And they have contact with various people from across the world. Why? Because Arabic is the language that unites the Muslims, and this can only be done through talab al-ilm. No group will remain qa'im on jahl and ignorance. It will die away. This is the first step, talab al-ilm. Second step is ibadah. In fact, Al-Imam Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah ta'ala said we would learn ibadah, worship for 30 years before we even sought knowledge. Why is ibadah so important? That the worst thing in the world is an alim who has no ibadah, no ubudiyah, no servitude to Allah. Which a part of that is first you learn al-adab, manners, then you learn ibadah, worship, and you learn ilm. But what do I mean by ibadah? that a jama'ah, a group will never be successful if the members of the jama'ah are not praying qiyamul layl, if they are not praying tahajjud, if they are not praying salatul awwabin, if they are not reciting Suratul Mulk every night, if they are not reciting Suratul Waqi'ah every night, if they are not reciting Al-Quranul Kareem every day, like the Sheikh Ahmed Habad rahimahullah ta'ala. By the way, this is another connection between myself and Al-Allama. Al-Allama Khadim Hussein, when he visited Syria, he visited my Shaykh, and he mentioned them in his speech also. Sheikh Ahmed Habad, Sheikh Shukri al-Luhafi, and numerous other Mashaykh. These were my Mashaykh. And he visited them. But the Sheikh Ahmed Habad rahimahullah, all day he would recite Al-Quran al-Kareem. So no jama'ah will ever be successful if they are not engrossed in ibadah. Like if the jama'ah is engrossed in ghiba, backbiting, or namima, tale spreading, or zina, fornication, or gambling, or usury, riba, or any one of these vices, then what will happen? What we refer to as fashal. The group will fail. You will wonder why the group failed? Because they have not established ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the second essential step. The first was what? Al-ilm. The second is ibadah, abandoning vices. The Mujahideen, Sheikh al-Islam al-Imam Muhammad bin Ja'far al-Kattani, he wrote a book called Nasiha to Ahl al-Islam, which I sent to Al-Allama Khadim Hussein rahimahullah. I sent him this book via one of the brothers who made me here today as well. In that book, Al-Imam Muhammad bin Ja'far al-Kattani rahimahullah said, if there are 12,000 Muslims, he gives a hadith for this. If there are 12,000 Muslims in an army, those Muslims can never be defeated. If they are defeated, it is because of sins. When Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu wrote to Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu in Egypt, they didn't conquer the city of Iskandariya. They went at Fajr time. They conquered it in the evening. Sayyidina Umar said, you should have conquered the city by Dhuhr time. It seems to me that you did something, people in the army did something that slowed down their victory. What does that mean? It means if there are 12,000 Muslims in an army and they are not achieving victory, it is why? Because they are sinning. They are not doing ibadah. If they are not praying, now Imam Muhammad bin Ja'far al-Kattani's grandson, Sayyid Fatih al-Kattani, rahimahullah, he said to us as nasiha, never abandon your salah in jama'ah. He gave some nasaih. One was, meaning we cannot do this all the time in this country, but he was strict on praying salah in jama'ah. That if you are not establishing your deen by praying 5 times a day, by salatul tahajjud, qiyamul layl, awwabin, reciting Quran, dhikr, adhkar, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, avoiding sins of the tongue, and avoiding sins of the private parts, and avoiding sins of the stomach, then your jama'ah, any group, will never be successful. Yes? So the second rule is what? Ibadah. Then the third stage is the stage of conveyance. Conveying the message of Islam. When you have the first 2 pillars are strong and firm, that the people are talabatul ilm, they seek knowledge, and they do amal, their conveyance, when they convey their message, their message will have an impact. Like how today we have rulers that people complain about those rulers. And Imam al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala said that the rulers, when they punish a people, it is because of their sins. And in one hadith, a hadith which is weak but the meaning is true, كَمَا كُنْتُمْ يُوَلَّى عَلَيْكُمْ, as you are, those type of leaders will be placed over you. But what happened? Al-Imam al-Nawawi, Yahya bin Sharaf al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he went to see Al-Malik Baybars rahimahullah, Sultan Malik Baybars. And Sultan Al-Malik Baybars had taken the waqf land, endowment land, waqf land, and utilized the land. And Imam Al-Nawawi rahimahullah went to reprimand him. And when he went to reprimand him, there was the hide of a tiger on the wall. The hide of a tiger on the wall. Al-Imam Al-Nawawi rahimahullah said, if you do not obey the command of Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will subjugate this cat upon you. And they say Al-Malik Baybars rahimahullah, he became frightened. And Al-Imam Al-Nawawi rahimahullah left. They said to him, why did you become frightened? He said that when Imam Al-Nawawi rahimahullah pointed at the tiger, the hide of the tiger, I saw a tiger coming towards me as if it would consume me. This was the effect of the wa'ad of Imam Al-Nawawi rahimahullah. People wonder why ulama have an effect in their wa'ad. It is because they act upon what they know. Those ulama that they had that fear, an effect in their tongue, they did amal on what they preached. So when a jama'ah, a group acts upon their knowledge, they will have an effect with their tongues. That you have ulama like Sheikh Abdul Hamid Kishk, Al-Alama Khadim, that the general of a country saluted him, acknowledged him. Why? Because his tongue had an effect. Why? Because he acted upon his knowledge. Firstly, he had knowledge. Secondly, he acted upon the knowledge. Lastly, I would say, before finishing, there are groups of resistance in Palestine today that they make their members memorize Quran, ajza of the Quran. You cannot join the group until you memorize the Quran. Then they make you pray your Salatul Fajr in the masjid regularly. Then they make you do different acts until they realize this person has reached a stage of credibility. Then they allow him in the group. And then those groups have an effect. Those groups have an effect. And similarly, all Muslim groups who are working for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, my nasiha is the same for all of them. Firstly, the nasiha is for myself, that I become a talib al-ilm, then do amal al your ilm, and then convey your message. Do not be a jahil, and do not be a person who may have knowledge, bookish knowledge, memory, but not act upon that knowledge, amal upon that knowledge. That amal is absolutely essential. And later, some other time, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives life, I may discuss something known as batil or ith, which is the sins which people do undercover. Those sins which they do alone. They think Allah is not watching. Some of them, they are on their phone, they talk to women, and then they may have a big imama and a big beard, and then they do zina with women, Muslim women, or people who consume riba. Eventually, what happens? They become disgraced. Do tawbah from these type of sins. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He enable everyone before we leave today to do tawbah, tawbatan nasuha, and that we rectify our inward, and then our preaching inshallah will have effect on others also. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وأتوب إليه.